Morning, everybody. Welcome to Geology. So let's talk what we're going to do for the earthquake discussion post, but it's going to be the same for really all of the disasters we do. There's going to be a list of which you're going to pick one, and there's going to be an initial post and then a follow-up reply post to other people's, but they have different instructions for each one. So make sure that you watch this whole video to get this down, and then really the format repeats through the rest of the course, so it'll be fairly easy. In week one of each module, we'll talk about like the specific geology of the events. So you got a list of earthquakes here. You're going to choose one and really stick to the geology of it. Let's not get into the human end of it. And like you've got, because we already did module 2, you've got a sense of tectonics. So the first section, you'll talk about the tectonic settings, what kind of plate boundaries might be nearby, like what was going on, really sticking to the geology of the event. What was going on to create this earthquake? Try using websites other than Wikipedia. I mean, if you want to use it to kind of familiarize yourself or find some other things, of course, that's fine. But let's get into the nitty gritty a little bit. But then you got to surf the line of writing this in a way that it makes sense to other people. Like, what if you were writing about this to somebody that doesn't necessarily know a lot about geology? And that's where if you go and you copy and paste some like technical information out of one of these websites, it's going to kind of stick out. And deep, like, don't write something that maybe you don't even know what you're talking about, or maybe somebody else might not know what you're talking about. You know, a really dense technical sentence doesn't really help us out. Put it in your own words so that it's readable to the general population. That's what I'm trying to say here. Okay, but USGS has great information on most of the modern ones. Some of the older ones you might have to dig a little bit deeper, but give me something here. So talk about the geology of the event. Does that make sense? Leave a citation that can just like a website link. It doesn't have to be a formal, APA, Chicago style, whatever you use. It doesn't have to be one of those. Just tell me where you got it. All right, so that'll be that. Now, the easiest way to do this, because there's a bunch of people in class, right? If some of you try to pick the same one, that's not going to work. I want everybody trying to pick different ones. So what you'll do, I think the best way to do it is to create a post, title it with your last name and the name of the disaster, and then just say taken, right? Like that's all you're going to say. So that, like, let's say you pick this Mexico City one, you say taken, then you can go do your work, figure it out. It might take a day or two to do that. Then you can come back and write on it. If you decide you're going to do that one and you take a day or two and figure it out, but then somebody else did it, that's where we start to get them doubling up, which isn't the end of the world, but I'd like to try to avoid it. So once you say taken, then you can go just reply to that post that just says taken, and you can write in your post. And if you haven't jumped on yet, maybe look through the discussion and see which ones have been taken and pick one that's not on the list so far. So the earlier you jump in and then choose one, the more choice you'll have. All right. So week one, and let's say up to Sunday. So today's Wednesday, the 22nd here. Up to Sunday of the first week, get your initial post done. Talk about the geology of the disaster. Week 2 will be where we get into responding to the post, and now is where we'll talk about like the human impact of all of this. What were the effect on human populations, damage to cities, buildings, like what setting was that city or area in? More like geographically, more like human wise, not tectonically, because that's already discussed. And what was the impact on those populations? Don't respond to your own posts, unless you're like responding to a response, I suppose, but responded to other people's posts, finding information about the impact on human populations. All right. And then we'll try to have that response post done by the time you take the quiz in the second week, which is the Thursday, Friday of the end of each of the second weeks, right? So do that before you take the quiz, then take the quiz, and we'll move on to the next module. We'll like do this again and again and again. This will be, I won't do this long of a video for each one because people generally get used to the format, where you'll just choose one of them, do the geology of the disaster, and then the human response for the second one. Make sense? Hopefully. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll see how that goes. And I will open that for everybody right now. Sound good? Good luck.